ever since I can remember, I always knew that something was different about me. And of course, when you're young, you don't have the vocabulary or the life experience to really explain it. But I just knew that I didn't fit in with the other kids and that I didn't function the way that they did. I was aware from a very young age. And I remember thinking, probably about age 6, I thought that I was a robot and that my job was to try my very best to be like everybody else. And I also felt like everybody else around me knew that I wasn't like them, but they weren't supposed to tell me. But I was supposed to try my best to mimic and pretend to be them as much as I could. But at the same time, I knew that like I'm human just the same way that they are, but I felt like something was so weird about me and I didn't understand that. I remember even thinking like, oh, if I were to prick myself with a push pin, like would I bleed like everybody else does? But I knew that I bled like everybody else did. Like I've had scraped elbows and knees before, but that was the feeling, was just like, well, there has to be something different about me. And the only thing I could think of at that young age is that it was something physical, like I'm not really a human, right? And so I'd say that's like the number one symptom that let me know, like, now that I'm older and I look back, it's like, that's not normal for a kid to think, right? Like a neurotypical kid does not think that way. But it's very common for neurodivergent people to have an experience similar to that, where they described feeling alien and like they're not like their other peers, you know? And so getting my ADHD diagnosis and my autism diagnosis was so validating, because it's like, hey, all these ways that you thought you were different, like you weren't crazy and you felt like something was wrong with you, but there's nothing wrong with you. Yes, there's something different about you compared to most of the other people, but it's nothing wrong. It's just a different way of being. And hey, like we've actually studied this different way of being and how it's different from other people. And so all of your struggles with trying to be like everybody else, those are valid struggles. They're not because you were lazy or because you weren't trying hard enough. And it's not something that you needed to keep pushing through. It wasn't that you didn't work hard enough. It wasn't that you were supposed to just keep on being persistent. It's like, actually, you trying to be like everybody else, that's what led you to burnout. Because guess what? Like everybody can experience burnout, but when you're neurotypical, that burnout is different than neurodivergent burnout, because the harder you push yourself, the worse your symptoms are getting. It's not your fault that you struggle with the will to live and burnout whenever you push yourself too hard. That's because your system is different, because your system is more sensitive. It's like, hey, actually, what's proven to help is rest. And rest is something that's seen as such a bad thing in this society. Like rest is lazy. If you're not working, you're not worthy. It's like if you're not providing to society by stepping into the health profession or business or something that improves the economy or helps other people so directly, then you are not worthy. And I think that's so silly, because there's so many other ways to help people and to be of value, and you don't need to sacrifice your well-being to be of value. You are worthy of your own time and care. It's like, it's not, you get told that it's selfish for you to rest and do what you need to do because you're not helping other people. But why is it that to help myself is considered like not enough? And what motivates me even more to help myself is that I know that I can encourage other people to also help themselves. So in that way, I am helping people. And I also think about how like you don't have to do much to help other people. I think about the ways that other people inspire and motivate me, and it's not always in the ways that you think. It's not in the obvious, direct ways. It's not me going to somebody asking for advice and them giving me advice. Not always. Of course, that's the majority of the time, right? But oftentimes, it's just in like regular interactions, things you can hardly even describe as an interaction. These people might not even know that I've recognized them, but I find some type of inspiration in them. Whenever I was first trying to figure out myself and my own sense of style and stuff, I remember I would be like on a walk and I would just see somebody dressed in, you know, what was very so clearly their own style, like bright, bold makeup or hair or outfits or whatever. And I admired that. I can see that they put in effort to, you know, dress in a way that feels good to them. I can see that all the pieces of their outfit probably took a while to build up and, you know, pick out and put together in a way that was cohesive and felt like them. You know, I remember, like, you know what I'm trying to say? It's like they didn't, do you think they put all that stuff on with the intention of, yeah, when I go out there, everybody's going to be inspired by me? No, they did that because they liked it, because it made them feel good. And I was able to get something out of that too. I was able to feel inspired by it, even if inspiration was not their original goal. Like, to be of value in this world, I think it's so underrated to just be yourself. How much value you bring just by being yourself. And you don't have to exude confidence either. You can be shy, you can be awkward, and somebody can still find something out of that. Maybe it's something like, oh, you reminded them of a loved one, you know, and they just get a little bit of, you know, a flashback to the past, and it boosts their mood a little bit. The little things, like, you don't even know. Like, there's I remember whenever I was like 18, and this was like one of the hardest times of my life, because if you know anything about my life, like, I basically had to get out on my own at age 19, and I still am not really in contact with a lot of my family. Like, I had to start fresh from, like, I was like, I was like on that path to just like going straight into college and trying to like get my bachelor's and then, you know, start a nuclear family and everything. That's what I thought I wanted. That was what I thought I needed. That's what I thought everybody was supposed to do. But then when I was 19, a bunch of stuff happened in my life that I couldn't have predicted. And yeah, I ended up getting out on my own because my home life was not very healthy. And so before that happened, when I was 18, I was in college full time, and I was also working 2 jobs. And one of those jobs was as a cashier at Dollar Tree. I was making minimum wage. I was making $7.25. And I remember there was a huge rush. Oh my gosh, like, you do not know how many, I had no idea how many people would fill up a whole cart at Dollar Tree, right? And the line was so long. There was probably only like 2 or 3 of us in the store, and one person was on break. And I was trying to check out people as fast as I could. And then I finally got to one lady in the line, and she almost sounded irritated with me. She told me to slow down. She was like, you don't need to scan that fast. She was like, slow down. And so I started slowing down as I was scanning her items and putting them into the bag, scanning an item, putting it into the bag. And then even I caught myself speeding up a little bit, and I stopped, and I like remembered that this lady told me to slow down, and she's watching me do it. And I slowly just continued on with it. And that experience, I don't know if she told me to slow down just because it was overstimulating for her to watch me like rush like that, or if it was because she could see how stressed I was, and she was giving me a reminder that like, you're allowed to slow down, you don't need to rush. Because in my head, I'm thinking I need to rush because everybody's going to be mad at me if I don't get through the line as fast as I can. But she's letting me know like, it's okay to slow down. I don't know where her intention was there, but you know how much that helped me that day? I was going through it at this time. I was constantly working, and I didn't have my own car either. So I was paying people to drive me to and from work and school. I was asking anybody I could to like help teach me how to drive in the meantime. And I was so stressed. I was running on so little sleep. I remember running on like 3 hours of sleep on days that I had school, and staying up and doing my homework like multiple assignments at a time, because consistency has always been very difficult for me. So I would like, gosh, I remember making like so much coffee and drinking so many Red Bulls, and I don't even know if caffeine really like helped me like that, but I thought it would, and it was so bad. But anyways, that helped me so much in that time of my life, you know? Like, I remember working at the vape shop, and I had so many little interactions with people where, like I said, I was inspired, and I'm like, hey, you know, like, oh, and like, I remember dyeing my hair blue once I moved out, because that was like, I knew that I was so judged and criticized for anything I did at home. So when I moved out, that was one of my motivators. I'll be able to do whatever I want. I'll be able to dress however I want. I'll be able to dye my hair however I want, do whatever I want, whenever I want, right? And I remember getting compliments on my hair and just having little interactions with people in the vape shop. And I even remember one lady coming in and we got into just a random conversation, and she was like, oh, like she was a nurse. I think she said she might have worked in hospice or something, but she said that she was diagnosed with a brain condition. I don't remember if it was a tumor or cancer or something. And she was saying like, I think she was trying to tell me to like be patient with her because she had a hard time remembering what she came in for because of it. And so I was just listening, you know, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like, take your time. I'm not worried. You know, it's not like there's anybody else in here, you know, you're fine. And we got to talking, and she was giving me a little bit of life advice, and she was telling me that it was actually difficult for her to accept help because she is a nurse. It's weird for her to be on the other end of receiving help now that she's the one with the health condition, right? And I guess I said something as we were talking, and she said to me, like, she stopped, she looked at me, she was like, wow. She was like, you're so wise for your age. And she was like, what's your name? And she put her hand out to me and she introduced herself. And, you know, I introduced myself when we shook hands. And I could tell that we both left the interaction feeling more fulfilled. Like there was something that we got out of it, some type of exchange where we both felt of value to each other. And those are things like I'll never take for granted, you know? And so basically my thing is just, I want to move out of that idea where like you have to self-sacrifice to be of value. I think it is so underrated how much, like I said, how much value we provide just by being ourselves. But for the longest time, it was so hard for me to be myself and even know what being myself meant because I had fought it for so long. Because so many of my neurodivergent symptoms, they were seen as inconveniences and like burdens to the people around me growing up, like to my parents, like me constantly forgetting to do my chores or my homework on time, or like forgetting that I had an assignment, like some type of project until like the night before. I remember getting yelled at so many times and feeling so much shame about it and being told like I needed to try harder to remember, like being told like I was selfish because I didn't remember to defrost the chicken in the sink. Like, no, every time I forgot something, I felt so much shame because I was trying so hard to do everything that was expected of me, but I was always falling short. And and it's like nobody believed me when I told them I was trying my hardest. And so that led me to feeling so lonely and like something was wrong with me, like I could never do anything right. And like everybody would be better off without me because I felt like I was genuinely a burden. And now that I know that that's not the case, and like, it's like it comforts younger me to know that there was nothing wrong with her and that like there are people who would have believed her, you know? And I can't go back and change the past. You know, like I still feel the hurt. Like I'm 24, but of course, like it's not like the other parts of me have just disappeared. It's like, no, as I've grown older, like I've just accumulated more of me, you know what I mean? But like 9-year-old me, she's still here. 6-year-old me, she's still here. And so all I can do is